Hello guys, and welcome to another discussion video. And today I wanted to discuss something that has actually been argued a lot in various gaming communities, and that is physical games versus digital games. And while both have their benefits and disadvantages, I personally prefer physical games. And I have a few different reasons for that. One personal reason I have is because they don't take up any space on the console itself. Well, I'm specifically for Nintendo on this one. At least like most games on the Switch and most first-party games on the Switch, the games don't really take up any space. I know on other consoles you have to download a lot of things, so that doesn't really apply here for other consoles, mostly just Nintendo consoles. And I like having to have a collection of games without having to swap out SD cards and micro SD cards and everything, because like my primary console, the Switch, doesn't have a lot of storage on it. It's only 32 gigabytes, 64 if you have an OLED, and that really isn't a lot when each game is between 5 to 10 gigabytes, sometimes even more if it's like a game like Breath of the Wild or Xenoblade, where it has like a lot of things going on. But those games take up a lot of space. In the Switch, like on the system itself, it can only hold a few games. So with physical games, I feel like I can have a lot more games without worrying about like micro SD cards and managing the data and everything. So yeah, I feel like it's just easier for me. Like, even though digital games are technically more convenient, I feel like just with storage and everything, I feel like it's just personally easier for me to manage physical games and everything. I actually have a 128 gigabyte micro SD card in my Nintendo Switch. I might get a 256 one at some point, but I feel like you still have to keep upgrading micro SD cards, like if you get a certain amount of games and everything. So with physical games, I feel like it's just easier for me to manage the games overall. And I also like having physical games because I prefer having a tangible object when I spend a lot of money over something that is just completely digital and everything. And yeah, I do like digital games in some areas. Like I said, they are more convenient. Like when you're switching out between different games and everything, you don't have to manage cartridges or discs or anything. But I actually like to have games on a shelf. Like, I mean, this is just a personal thing, but I think it just looks good in a collection. And I just think it's also good overall to have like just different things and everything. And the fact that you can actually resell them is also big for me. Even though I don't really resell games or return games at all, I mostly just keep the games that work for me and everything. But I feel like just having that option is just better in general for me. Because with most games, like with digital games in general, you really can't resell them. That's impossible because they're digital. And I just don't like to have to lock on to that idea that you just permanently have that game and everything. I mean, I do keep my games and everything, but it's just like for people who don't like a certain game or are not satisfied with a certain game, like a lot of Switch games have not been living up to people's expectations. Like the various Pokemon games, for example, and different things like that. Like even some of the Mario sports games, even despite the fact that I like some of them, I feel like other people didn't, but just the fact that you can't like return the game or resell the game just kind of makes physical a little better for me in terms of like managing the games and everything. So that's another reason why I prefer physical games over digital games. And another big reason why I prefer physical is the fact that the games will mostly always be available and accessible and preserved most of the time. With digital games, a lot of the time, companies actually take down the games. And with Nintendo specifically, since I'm a Nintendo channel, I kind of want to touch on that. With the eShop, and even older with like the Wii and DSi shop, I feel like those are eventually discontinued. Nintendo doesn't like to continue the support of their older digital shops, which is very concerning. And I feel like that definitely makes digital games, specifically on Nintendo consoles, not always the best option, because with digital games, you can delete them and then re-download them on the digital shop or the eShop, and once that's down, you won't be able to re-download them, like if you delete a certain game, because a lot of the times with digital games, if your console has full storage and everything and you can't store any more games, sometimes you can delete games or like have them backed up and everything. But once the servers are down, you can't re-download those games. Like, you can have the games and play them if you have them on your console and everything, but you just can't re-download them. And that's definitely concerning for like preservation and everything. I know with physical games, like they won't last forever. I mean, like every physical object on the planet, it's eventually gonna turn to dust at some point. I mean, that's inevitable. So I feel like that's not really that much of a concern, because most of the time, if you're just taking care of your physical games and you're just like making sure that they're like working and everything, I feel like there really isn't a problem with having physical games. Like, I have NES games that are over 30 years old that still work fine. I know there's a lot of older games that have stopped working, but I feel like for the most part, if you take care of your games or replace certain parts like the batteries and the Game Boy games, I feel like they're mostly, like, at least in your lifetime, they're at least gonna be playable and everything. So yeah, it just, in with digital games, like I said, like, I know they are technically preserved on the console and everything, but there's always the chance of something happening. Like, data can be corrupted and everything. I mean, with digital games, there's always that risk. Like, things can be deleted. Like, let's say if something is accidentally deleted or corrupted, once the eShop is down, there's no way of getting it back. And yeah, I feel like both physical and digital media have their disadvantages in terms of preservation, but I feel like for the most part, physical media and physical games definitely hold up and are definitely more accessible a lot of the time than digital, at least in some areas. But anyways, that's my take on physical versus digital. I feel like both are good in their own ways, and I feel like there's not really any superior format when it comes to games. I know I was saying, like, this is the best way or different things like that. That's only really my own personal opinion. I feel like I said, they're both good in their own ways, and I even like digital games in some areas. Like, I download a lot of indie games and smaller titles, which work very well for digital. And I even have a few, like, AAA games and $60 games that are digital, and I just did that out of convenience because they were on sale, and then during the pandemic, it was harder to get a hold of physical games because of shipping and everything. So I feel like in some areas, digital can be better, and I understand why a lot of people are doing digital only and why a lot of people do prefer digital. So I completely understand where people are coming from with that. I just personally prefer physical games. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server if you want to. Goodbye.